we're super excited to chat with you all about TikTok for nonprofits and ultimately, using TikTok to reach the next generation of donors. Within TikTok, there's about 3 different topics we're going to cover today. We'll go pretty deep into organic TikTok strategy. I think that's a place where every nonprofit can get started. Then we'll do a little bit into paid TikTok ads and some of the strategy there. And then we're going to lightly talk about influencer marketing as well. Community Boost is looking to launch these services pretty soon. Our main focus to start is going to be around organic and paid ads, less on the influencer marketing side to start. So we want to give you the most relevant information that we have. But as I mentioned earlier, or as was mentioned earlier, Sade is an influencer herself and has some tips and notes in regards to that area too. I won't go too deep into introductions as those had already happened. But again, we're super excited to have Sade join the team. We've been working together for the last few months, and then she came on full time in May. But as mentioned, she has grown her own profiles between TikTok and Instagram to over 400,000 followers. And throughout that has learned a lot and is excited to kind of take those learnings and bring them into the nonprofit space. And again, my name is Reagan. I'm the Director of Innovation here. And so have been working with Sade on these fronts because these are going to be new channels. So again, most of the conversation is going to be around TikTok, but the biggest reason why we are trying to pursue TikTok isn't just because it's the new and fun platform. Like that's certainly part of it. It's grown a ton over the last few years. But the bigger reason is, we see a big need to really reach that Gen Z and millennial audience. We've seen in the nonprofit space, so many nonprofits do well at hitting that 65 plus year old demographic and even into that Gen X demographic. But that next generation of donors, the Gen Z and millennials, a lot of times are either really hard for nonprofits to reach or nonprofits just don't really see the opportunity there. And the reality is we do have to focus here. It is true that traditional donor demographic does have the capability to give more at the moment. But the reality is those giving levels are going to continue to level out and eventually start to decrease as more and more of this audience, starts to age up and, people saved a lot for retirement and things are getting really expensive and people are living longer and they will start to have less and less money over time as well. And, on the vice versa, where next generation donors right now are less established in their careers and typically can't give as much. That's just a solution that'll be solved with time. And we've started to see that already. In fact, in 2022, next generation donors gave about 2.5 times more than they did in 2021. And we see a continued growth and opportunity here. Just a couple of statistics that I think are interesting to note with this audience. If you're like rolling your eyes of like, yeah, whatever, we don't want to waste our time on Gen Z and millennial. Well, on average, already next-gen donors give to an average of about 3.3 nonprofits on a yearly basis. It's a massive demographic in the United States. Currently, that next generation population makes up about 42% of the total U.S. population, and that's going to continue to grow while more of that traditional demographic will continue to shrink year over year. They are online, which is a big reason why, we're focused so much on digital marketing. 86% of purchases that this audience is going to make are going to happen online. So it's important to be on digital. While, the Gen Z audience specifically doesn't give a whole lot from a donation standpoint at the moment, it's more of that is coming from millennials currently just because they are further in their careers. 64% of Gen Z say that they would pay more for a sustainable product, which helps you understand too, like where their mind is at. They're willing to spend a little bit more money if they know that, that's going to be more sustainable and better for the planet. And so they do care. It's just about taking them to that next level and, trying to help them become a donor. And again, even if the amount that they're able to give is less, one interesting thing here is that 82% of individuals in this demographic are willing to ask their friends and family to help support as well. And so, there is a big opportunity here. And I think TikTok is a great way to ultimately hit them. So, what is TikTok? If you haven't been paying attention to the news, or you're just not as up to date on social trends, TikTok is a digital playground where creativity knows no bounds. Right? It's a short form video platform. Kind of came as a replacement to Vine a couple of years later, and ultimately it's a platform that allows you to be really interactive with your community through dancing and lip syncing and memes, and it offers this barrier to it offers this opportunity to kind of break down that traditional professional barrier that can be really hard to overcome on things like Instagram and Facebook, where you have to feel like you have to stick with your brand tone. But this gives you an opportunity to show a lot more of the personal side of your work. And so, why TikTok, and how does this relate to that kind of next generation audience? Well, on TikTok, about 80% of the users currently in the US do fall in that 16 to 34-year-old demographic. So this is the platform when it comes to hitting Gen Z and millennials. It is a platform that's heavily growing already. There's about 80 million active monthly users in the United States alone. The average person is on here a lot. It's not like they just have it downloaded on their phone and that's the end of it. On average, the user on TikTok opens the app about 8 times a day, and the screen time here is massive. The average monthly screen time on TikTok is about 26 hours a month, where in comparison to Instagram's only about 7.9 hours a month, and Facebook, not with this demographic, but with a demographic who's typically using Facebook, the average screen time is about 16 hours a month. So definitely a lot of opportunity here. And before we start diving into kind of the three different categories, something that I think is special about TikTok that applies to all of these, capabilities, is, again, this platform is a very authentic platform where we can share very real and relatable content. Again, it doesn't have to be that like super well shot professional documentary type video. Like, this can be front facing, short form, showing that, yeah, sure, the really great things that your organization is doing, but also like sharing some of the struggles that your organization has, or even taking a step away from your mission and just showing more of the personality behind the brand and who works there. It allows you to essentially create a community and participate in trends. And that kind of stuff is going to allow you to build trust and resonance with your audience, which in the long run, should help you, ultimately create more of a relationship with your supporters and donors. Another distinct advantage of TikTok is that virality is literally built into the platform. When you open Instagram, the first thing that you're seeing, well, yes, you can see new people. The first thing you're seeing is your news feed, which is mainly going to be comprised of posts from people you already follow. And it can be difficult if you don't already have a lot of followers. Your stuff isn't going to really be seen. Or within TikTok, like, the first thing you see when you open the app is your For You page, which is filled with content that is relevant to you based on all of the other things you've watched previously, but doesn't necessarily have to be from people you already follow. And that allows for a pretty level playing field. Even if you don't, have 30,000 followers on Instagram that you're going to be able to bring over, you have an ability, even without almost any followers, to get your content seen. And again, there can be a massive impact here. This is a great opportunity to increase donations, especially in that next gen demographic. It allows you to, if you're a museum or a zoo or something like that, where you can show like aspects of like exhibits and get people really engaged. That can be massive. This is a great place for promoting events and 5Ks, and even trying to get users who participate in those things to create their own content for more like user generated virality. And then again, this is just in general a really great platform for enhancing your visibility and awareness, and really creating a community in a way that can, like I said, be hard to do in other platforms. We have a lot to cover, so I put these in here in case you want to watch them. But these are some examples of nonprofits that I think are absolutely crushing TikTok. But I want to keep the slides moving. So Sade, would love for you to kind of take over here and talk a little bit about what you've learned about TikTok, and teach some of that to the nonprofit space.
Yeah, of course. So when it comes to understanding, an organic strategy, you need to understand the TikTok algorithm. So the TikTok algorithm is a system that learns from user interactions. So that means that it's going to tailor the content that is shown to you based off the likes, follows, shares, and the content created. So the algorithm considers factors like the hashtags, geolocations, and specifics of the video, such as the text on the screen. So the For You page is personalized to each unique user. So that means that you have a huge chance of going viral, just like Reagan said earlier. It's not about how many followers you have, it's about hitting the things that the algorithm is looking for. So when it comes to leveraging the algorithm, you have to work with it by encouraging user interactions. So that means that you're going to need to ask questions, create challenges, and encourage duets and stitches on your videos in order to really get that engagement going. So that also means staying current on trending hashtags and sounds. So participating in trends really is going to increase your visibility and help with your chances of virality. So, in order to understand and leverage the TikTok algorithm, you need to implement strategies that are going to drive your engagement to a larger audience. So when it comes to creating engaging content, you need to make sure that you're using the power of storytelling. So storytelling is crucial for connecting with TikTok audiences because it creates an emotional bond and inspires action. So you need to share stories that matter and are gonna invoke empathy. So that means maybe sharing behind the scenes content that gives a glimpse of your nonprofit and is going to humanize your organization. That also means highlighting stories of the team, volunteers, and the individuals that you serve. And impact narratives are really going to show the value of donor contributions. So, this storytelling is really going to deepen your connection with your TikTok audience. When it comes to participating in trends, it's a really great opportunity for nonprofits to, widen their engagement and showcase relevancy and adaptability to your audience. So trends really increase visibility to your current followers. And it shows that you can creatively adapt to the trends to make sure that they align with your nonprofit's mission. So, for example, you can do a trending dance and have your team members wear a t shirt that has your logo on it and film it in a location that is specific and relevant to your mission. So, authenticity is going to be crucial to resonate with your TikTok followers. So, again, make sure that whatever it is that you're hopping on is relevant to your mission and it's in alignment. So TikTok is not just for dancing and trending stuff. It's also a place for people to come and get educated. So TikTok really values educational content, and users are really eager to learn in a short form, engaging video format. So that means you can use this as an opportunity to inform and educate your audience about your mission. So that means debunking myths or sharing a fun fact. You can also explain complex issues in an accessible way to increase awareness. And you can position yourselves as an authority in your field, and that's going to ultimately strengthen your credibility. So, engaging with educational content on TikTok really enhances an understanding of your reputation. So, when it comes to building a community on TikTok, it's really important to encourage engagement. And engagement just measures how much the audience interacts with your content. So that means using captions and questions to stimulate conversations. And, these questions can be tied to your mission and they're going to spark a general discussion. So remember to actively respond to comments to show appreciation and build relationships. And responding maintains the conversation and it fosters a sense of community. So you also need to be leveraging TikTok's features like duets and stitches to drive engagements. So encourage your followers to participate on those duets and stitches of your content. And challenge your followers by, maybe duetting a team member performing a fun mission related activity. So by fostering engagement, you're going to continue to create an active and involved community on TikTok. So, two of the most important things with any TikTok strategy is going to be consistency and authenticity. And consistency with your posting helps retain and grow your TikTok audience. So, that means creating a posting schedule that is going to work for you and something that you can maintain. I personally post once every day, so 7 times a week. But again, do what works for you and something that you can actually stick to. And on the other side of that, authenticity deeply resonates with your TikTok audience. So you need to maintain a genuine voice aligned with your nonprofit's mission and your values. So by building trust through authenticity, it's going to foster a stronger connection with your viewers. When it comes to optimizing your TikTok profile, you need to remember a few key things that this is the first thing that people are seeing when they come to your page. So you need to make sure that your profile picture is clear and a representative of your nonprofit, and the logo or the image that you use needs to be associated with your organization. Your bio is an opportunity to express your unique mission and concisely and compellingly let people know what your organization is about. So, um, you should be using a link in bio, but that's only available if you have 1,000 followers or more. But if you do have a business account, there is a way that you can get that set up and everything squared away, because you're going to want to utilize that feature to direct your followers to your website or donation page, or really just drive traffic to any key area that you want to see conversions in. So by optimizing your TikTok profile, that's going to ensure that your audience has a really great, first encounter with your page.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sade. And again, we're going through three kind of very different topics that all go into TikTok. But we will be releasing, additional content. We could talk forever about tips around organic strategy. Hopefully that was a decent, introduction into that world, and super excited to get you guys more content there. If you stick around, we are going to be giving away a trends report at the end here too. We kind of catered 5 things that are trending right now. Kind of came up with some different ideas for nonprofits, along with a bunch of hashtags that we recommend using and some additional tips. So that'll be available at the end of the session. So next, we want to dive into kind of the paid side, right? So we just talked about organic, and if you have a lot of time on your hands, maybe less budget, that's a really great place to get started. I'd say even if you're going to do paid advertising, it's probably worth getting to know the platform and posting organically as well. But for those of you who are familiar with like meta advertising, you've run Facebook ads or Instagram ads on your own, some of this is going to look pretty familiar. I will talk about some of the differences, but also want to acknowledge that maybe there's people in the audience that have never run Facebook and Instagram ads, or if they did, like maybe their organization did, but it was with an agency and they weren't really involved. So I will kind of take it from the very beginning. And first, just really acknowledge, like, why would you want to do paid ads on TikTok when organically you can still reach new people, where on Instagram that can be a little bit harder? Well, on TikTok ads, or when you're posting organically, you are still at the mercy of the algorithm. Even Sade herself, with tons of followers, has videos that she posts that get hundreds of thousands of views. But there's other ones that she'll post that get thousands to tens of thousands of views. It's a little bit of making sure your content's amazing, but there's a certain luck of the draw as well that happens in that algorithm, where when you're doing paid advertising, you're essentially paying for your reach instead of having to use the algorithm to do that. So you do get much greater visibility. Like on average, a good rule of thumb on TikTok that I've seen is for every $5 you're spending, you're going to see about 1,000 people actually end up seeing your ad. Obviously, that would depend a little bit on your bidding strategy. Additionally, not all of the content that you're posting organically should have deep call to actions in them. If that's the case, like, no one's going to watch your profile because they don't want to feel like every single time they see your videos, they're just being advertised to. Where within TikTok ads, like, that is a more appropriate place to ask someone to make a donation, and we can control who's seeing it. So not everybody who's seeing your content sees it, but we're going to target specifically people who we think are likely to make that donation. And then finally, within ads, we get a lot more data of what happens after someone sees it and goes to the site and makes a conversion, which gives us the ability to optimize and scale. Where again, because you're not having links that have attribution through the TikTok pixel and your organic stuff, you're not going to be able to do as much of that in regards to scaling specific conversions. So again, I recommend doing both, but it's okay to choose one or the other as well. The first step is, even if you don't plan to post a lot on TikTok, if you are going to do paid advertising, like, set up your profile at least, because on the ads they can click on it and go see it, and having something there can be helpful. And it gets you used to looking at what's kind of trending But then after you have that, really the steps are pretty similar to Facebook in the sense that you'll set up your ads manager. It's called the TikTok Ads Manager. This is not a nonprofit specific thing. There's tons of resources online. It's not very hard to do. But you'll set up the ads manager. This is like the place that you're going to run all of the ads. You're going to get that connected to your account. And then from there, a really crucial step is to make sure you place that TikTok pixel on your website. That's going to allow, when someone clicks on the ads and they go to your site and then they actually convert, it'll send that data back to TikTok. So you're not just optimizing based on how many clicks something is getting. Like, it's great if ads are getting a lot of clicks, that's good. But if they're going to the website and not actually making a donation, and that's my end goal, well, there's not, you probably want to know what's happening on that end. So the pixel is super important. And then from there, making sure you actually have your Google Analytics set up as well, just so you can even get more insight on, hey, when people do click and maybe they're not converting, are they, even browsing around, or are they just leaving after 2 seconds? Like, all of that is great information. So that's just in the initial setup phase. From there, you're getting ready to, actually think about launching your first campaign. I'd say the first step is to really ask yourself, like, what are the goals that I have? And, trying to make those realistic for TikTok. So let's say, you have a goal of getting 1,000, new donors over the next year. Well, that's probably not, like, let's not put all of our eggs in this basket. Like, keep doing the things that you're doing, but figure out, like, okay, well, what is everything that I'm already doing getting me to? Maybe we're already on pace to hit 800. So there's 200 left. And, we're going to try some new strategies, and we have a budget of $2,000. Well, ask yourself, what's my average cost per acquisition for a donor typically? And let's say it's, $50, and we're going to put, $2,000 there. Then, okay, like, let's choose a realistic, based on that cost per acquisition, a realistic goal to try to achieve. And again, if my goal is, hey, I want more donors, we have to think about, okay, well, where is this audience coming from, and what do they already know about us? Am I going to be targeting people who, already know who we are, and they already know the problem, and they're ready to donate, they just haven't thought about it? Well, if so, then that's great. Let's target them with a conversions campaign where we're going after website conversions or lead generation, and really optimizing for people who are already, willing to make that gift at a higher rate. If you use those campaign efforts, you typically pay more for the amount of people that are seeing your ads. But, the algorithm is going to essentially, look at that audience that you're giving it and narrow it down to the people who are most likely to take action. Now, if your problem is, hey, there's a ton of people that know about this issue, the social issue that's going on, but they don't know who I am, well, then I might want to use a consideration campaign like traffic or video views or community interaction in order to connect with those people who understand there's a problem and help them understand what our approach is and how we're a solution to that problem. And again, here you're optimizing more for people who are going to explore, and they're going to go to your profile and look around. They're going to watch more videos. They're going to go to your website and browse around. Maybe they're not ready to donate quite yet, but they understand that there's a problem. So again, that we would go after consideration. And if we take a step back and ask ourselves, or say to ourselves, people don't even know that there's an issue, let alone like know that we're a solution for it. Well, I don't want to just come in and tell everybody I'm a solution to a problem that they don't know exists. And so if that's the case, then I would go more with the reach campaign, where it's the cheapest as far as cost per 1,000 impressions go. You will reach more people for less cost, but it's under the assumption that I'm going to reach them for less cost, but I'm probably going to have to hit them 6 or 7 times to educate them on the problem, maybe another 4 or 5 times to convince them that we're the solution. Once you have that set up, and now you've essentially done the campaign level bid strategies, next you're going to move into targeting. And again, if you're familiar with meta advertising, it's honestly pretty similar. You can target people based on location, age, gender, and we do have interest targeting as well. The interests on TikTok, I think, are a little different than Meta. Meta, there's way more interests to choose from than there is on TikTok. But the problem with Meta is a lot of those interests are based on, your last activity within the platform. And, some of the stuff that you put in your profile when you created it. I created my profile on Facebook when I was in 8th grade. So there's a lot of things that I've changed my interests in since I was in 8th grade, but have been too lazy to ever update the profile. Where within TikTok, when you're selecting a lot of these interests, it's about what people are watching right now on TikTok. So, if someone's watching the Sacramento History Museum, and they're getting all that information and they're super excited, and I'm a different museum and I'm targeting people who are interested in museum exhibits, I know that they're already watching this content and engaging with it. And so I know it's going to be a lot more effective. And I, pre-chose some that were in platform, but you can do things like environmental protection, charity and public welfare, museum exhibits, donations, thrift shops, volunteers, and then you can even do things like expected income range, the price of their cell phone. Not that that really matters for most nonprofits, but there's some unique ones that I haven't really seen in Meta. You can do custom and lookalike audiences as well, so you can set up remarketing audiences. The only difference here between TikTok and Meta is in Meta, you can upload your first name, last name, email of the donors, and you can create a targeted list that way. We don't have that ability in TikTok, so you can do website remarketing, but you can't really do list uploads. They used to have it, and they kind of took it away. They might bring it back, but that's where it's at right now. So, now you've essentially chosen your ad sets or your ad targeting. And then really, I think the most crucial thing to know about TikTok versus Meta is in Meta, you can see a lot of success just by even if your creative isn't the best, you can see a ton of success by optimizing your audiences and optimizing your bid strategies and playing around in that area where, and even the text in your ads, even if the imagery isn't great, within TikTok, that is not a possibility. Your ads have to feel ingrained with what's going on in the platform right now. Your ad creative and the ads that you're using are going to make or break your success in the platform. And so, what are the best practices when it comes to ad creation here? Number one, we need to focus on creating authentic content that, it feels like it almost feels like it's an organic post. I don't want it to be high quality, YouTube style, documentary style video. It's better to, in my opinion, to have front facing cameras because that's what most of the content on the platform's going to be. Utilizing sounds and trends and memes that are happening right now on the platform in your ads, refreshing your ad creative consistently on a weekly to bi-weekly basis is going to allow you to have more success because it's going to feel like it's a part of what's happening right now organically. And even looking at, on organic posting, using audio visuals and putting text on the screen is really helpful for the algorithm. It's not that helpful for ads and the algorithm standpoint. Sure, it's good to have it to the text on screen, but having the text on screen in your ads is going to make it seem and look like a organic post, which is going to get a lot more attention instead of people just immediately scrolling by because it looks, completely out of place. Again, just like Sade was saying in your ads, just like in your organic posts, really trying to create that emotional connection, really try to inspire action. Think about what it is that you're trying to get them to do. Am I trying to get them to donate? And is this person in that stage where they understand that there's an issue and we're the solution? I don't need to talk as much about in my ad creative about educating them on the problem. They already know there's a problem. I might want to make that ad a lot more about us being the solution, where if it's someone who doesn't even know there's a problem to begin with, if my ad is all about how we're a solution to this problem they didn't even know existed, it's going to fall flat. And then, so essentially at that point, right now you have your ads created. Optimization on TikTok does look a little bit different. It's a little bit more difficult to optimize your ads once they are live. So most of the optimization is going to come from, when you first set it up, think ahead of what you're trying to learn. So I would want to know what type of audience is going to work best for me. I would never recommend in Meta going and setting a general audience that's not doing any sort of interest targeting. But in TikTok, I actually do recommend it. We've seen it work really well in the past. So you would go and let's say, you're targeting just the Houston area. Sure, don't target the whole US if the only people who are relevant are in Houston. But you can set up the location audience only, but no interest targeting, and then create a duplicate of that, and then target the interests like charity or volunteer or museum, depending on your organization. And then if you've already run a few campaigns and you already have remarketing audiences set up, then I would suggest creating a lookalike of those audiences as well. So now you have essentially 3 ad sets that are running. And then rather than trying to make adjustments to them while they're going, I would just go back after about 5 days and look and see, hey, which one's the least performing ad or the worst performing ad, remove that one and increase the budget in the 2 top performings. And let's say general targeting is working better than interest. That's where I would then go and say, okay, well, what about the interest stuff is falling flat? Is the creative maybe just not, we used the same creative as general and didn't really reference where that audience is at? Then it would tell me, hey, I might want to update my creative or something like that. Additionally, A/B testing creative from the very beginning is important. Again, from my experience after running a few campaigns, I found that front-facing video does outperform the well-shot, on a professional camera video. That said, that's been my experience. That may not be your experience, and I see tons of brands do really high-quality content that does well. So test that for yourself. Test a more serious tone about your mission versus like something a lot more casual or even funny. A general story versus about your organization versus narrowing in on one specific impact metric that you guys have created. And then as soon as you have around 20,000 impressions in your ads, I would step in and start to create lookalike audiences and remarketing audiences. So again, very high level. I know people in this audience are all at different places, but hopefully it's a good introduction to paid, TikTok advertising. And next, we want to talk lightly about influencer marketing. So Sade, I will pass it back to you to hit these next few slides.
Yeah, so when it comes to influencer marketing, I mean, really, this is all from my experience. So, as an influencer, I have a strong and engaged community on social media. So, really, TikTok, because that's my biggest platform. So, that means that I'm going to understand the interest of my followers, especially the younger demographics that most nonprofits struggle to reach. So, when collaborating with any influencer, that kind of allows a nonprofit to connect with their target audience more effectively. And that authentic endorsement and recommendation is going to have a significant impact on that person's followers. So, me personally, I bring creativity and storytelling abilities and the ability to convey a nonprofit's message more effectively. And influencer marketing really brings a fresh perspective to nonprofit strategies. So, it helps you stay relevant on TikTok. So, collaborations with multiple influencers is really going to amplify the message to a wider audience. And working with influencers is really going to benefit, the organic nature of social media for your nonprofit. So, when it comes to establishing influencer partnerships is really right the right thing to do to find the right influencer. Sorry. So alignment with your nonprofit's mission is crucial to selecting any influencer, and things to consider is going to be the influencers demographics, specifically on TikTok. So that means that you need to look beyond the follower account, um, and assess the influencers' engagement rates, because you need to set clear expectations of the partnership regarding the content creation, the posting schedules, and the messaging. So you need to collaborate on the deliverables, such as making sure that this content is going to resonate with the influencer's audience and that it's going to effectively convey your message. So when selecting an influencer who aligns with your mission, that's really going to appeal to your target audience and make sure that you get those high engagement rates so that you can maximize your influencer marketing efforts.
Awesome. And so, next I want to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of influencer marketing. We did have a lot of nonprofits that we work with even, say, hey, we're really interested in trying out influencer marketing. We want to learn more about it. And, we still haven't pulled the trigger on it. We will eventually. But, we want to acknowledge like the pros and the cons, and it could be prohibitive for a lot of people. So, when it comes to the pros, you do get access to new and engaged audiences, which is great because even if you don't have an audience, like let's say you're hiring Sade, well, Sade has already built her audience of 400,000 people who, respect her and trust her and watch her content. And so you're getting access to that and you're getting credibility. These people, like while Sade may not know the individuals who are following her, all 400,000, those people watch her content pretty consistently. And if you've ever like listened for a long time to a podcast, like you've listened to tons of episodes, you start to feel like you're kind of friends with these people. And I think the same thing does happen in TikTok. And when you're following someone, you get to see into their life. And so, these people follow her, they respect her. And so if she then says that, she's a huge proponent for Girls Who Code, well, that immediately, creates credibility within that audience for Girls Who Code, because they're saying, well, I respect Sade and Sade respects them. So I'm sure they're doing great stuff. And then again, you do get access to unique and personal messaging. Like Sade has niched into the type of content that she's doing. And so, a lot of these influencers have. And so even if you, can't think, very creatively for them about how they could talk about it, like giving them the freedom to create that promotion in their style can make it feel like very organic and really related, and not just cause people to see, oh, it's a paid partnership, I'm gonna keep scrolling. The cons are pretty big though. And so, even in comparison to, paid advertising, right? Like the costs are pretty similar. A lot of people, I think that it's going to be cheap to do influencer marketing. It's not. Even for an influencer of Sade size with 300,000 to 600,000 followers, we're talking about like one TikTok post, about $1,500 to $3,000, depending on, the size of their audience and, how much demand they ultimately have. And so, with that, you have to understand that you're also at the mercy of the algorithm. Even if Sade has hundreds of thousands of followers, again, like I mentioned earlier, some of her content gets hundreds of thousands of views. Some of it gets tens of thousands of views. You don't know where, you're kind of playing the lottery there to a certain extent. And it's important to remember, like, you're not buying the reach when it comes to influencer marketing. You're buying, the access to that creator's voice and to her credibility or to their credibility. But again, it can create unpredictable results. And so if I were to take that same $1,500 and throw it into paid advertising, or $2,000 throw it into paid advertising, I at least know what I'm getting and I have something to optimize off of. Doesn't mean that influencer marketing isn't worth it. It absolutely can be if you really want to align yourself with a certain individual. But with that, like there is also concerns, right? Things on the internet do stay there forever. And even if someone is making great content now and seems pretty put together and you really like it, like 2 to 3 years down the line, who knows what they might be saying or where they are. And you've now attached yourself to them, where they have not really attached themselves to your brand almost at all. And so that's important to think about from a longevity standpoint. It's not that it's the end of the world, and these risks happen a lot of other places, even with the people you bring onto your team. But it's really important to take into consideration who it is that you are going to work with, because again, if their content's already kind of iffy, you might not be in a great place in the long run. So again, there's a lot of pros, there's some cons. We had this section just be a little bit shorter because there's a lot more research we want to do before we start saying anything, but I thought it was interesting to hear a little bit from Sade in these areas, and hopefully these pros and cons help you better understand where you should ultimately be going. One thing I did see in the chat that I do want to acknowledge, because I'm not tone deaf, right? Like, yes, TikTok is in the news right now, and it is important to notice that and note that, yeah, maybe this platform, like, there could be things that shake up over the next year, but I honestly wouldn't let that act as a roadblock for you right now. Like, if this platform does go away, right now there is no other platform that allows this type of virality. So I'd say even more so, get in while you can, because you can take these audiences back to your other places. And that's what Sade has done. She grew on TikTok first, got more of those people to then follow her on Instagram. That's where she has over 300,000 on TikTok, 100,000 on Instagram at this point. Number two, like, the content that you're creating on TikTok, well, most of that can be repurposed for Instagram Reels. In fact, Instagram Reels is just TikTok 3 weeks later. The algorithm's worse. It's not as good at recommending your content to brand new people very accurately, but the content can be repurposed. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. So that's another reason to do it. And then, the third thing is to really look and understand that this platform is like, look how much usage is happening on a day-to-day basis, how much people are in that app. It's crazy to think that there wouldn't be something else that would try to step up and take its place. There's too much opportunity. And so, a lot of the skills that you build on here, those audiences are going to want to find you on the next platform if it goes anywhere. That said, I also wouldn't worry too much about it. I as much as, like, we are hearing things about bans, those things are very, very difficult to enforce, and I'm not too worried about it. But I don't want to be tone deaf either. It's a possibility. I still don't think it should keep you from making that decision to get started. So at a high level, what are some takeaways? Again, this is a great platform for really trying to hit those younger demographics. This is a great place to ultimately test influencer marketing if that's something that you want to do, because you do get to expand outside of even just that person's interest, but even into newer audiences. I would encourage you at minimum to start with organic, But if you have the possibility to go to the paid advertising side, I think there's two things to look at. Like if you have more time than you have budget, organic is going to be the way to go, because you're not going to see success by just posting like once a week. You do have to be in there and you have to be posting consistently. But if you have time, that's a great way to spend it. If you have more money than you have time, then yeah, maybe you can't come up with 2 to 3 posts a day. Then yeah, maybe that if you have the budget, then maybe the advertising route makes a little bit more sense. And for those of you who have a little bit of both, or have the ability to work with someone great like Sade and maybe hire Community Boost, then we'll help you do both of those without having to take a whole lot of your time. So again, I want to encourage you guys to really, look at what you're doing and have data-driven decisions. So look at those A/B tests, and then ultimately just understand that this is a place that not enough nonprofits are on right now. And this is the world that we've been in. Like I still talk to people that have never even like thought about getting their Facebook or Instagram profile set up, which to be fair, like it's at this point, like I don't know if I would take all of the time to start creating Facebook stuff. If based on where the audiences are going, if you already have it, that's amazing. You should continue to use it. But at the same time, like the nonprofit space is typically pretty far behind. And again, finding some nonprofit content was hard. I haven't seen a lot of nonprofits. I found a couple that absolutely have crushed it, but other than that, it was hard to find it because the ones I would find weren't posting. Like I want more of the nonprofit space to get into this platform and ultimately try. So as far as kind of next steps go, we'll open it up to Q&A maybe for a few minutes, and then we're going to hop into the lounge where we can go deeper into Q&A. This is not a service that is fully launched yet. Sade and I are kind of tying up the bow at the very end. But I think July 1 is our intended launch date for both paid TikTok advertising and organic TikTok advertising services. For organic TikTok, we want to create solutions both for people who want us to fully help them, come up with ideation and come up with all the content themselves. But we'll also be taking a lot of these learnings and expanding the accelerator courses and launching some more low cost, more do-it-yourself options as well, really hitting in on helping you guys with like more of the content ideation while you guys would go and kind of film and fill in the blanks. So you can sign up there. And then Candace, I don't know if you have how we want to get them the trends report, but I want to get them that as well. There you go. There's a QR code on screen. So if you scan that, that should take you to the June trends report. This is one of like 10 deliverables that we're going to be giving on a monthly basis for those of you who do end up signing in on that lower cost option in the future. But this one is free for you guys. There's 5 trends that are happening right now on TikTok. These are an opportunity to create 5 posts over the next week. If you do end up following these trends and creating something, in your comments, just at Community Boost, find us on TikTok, tag us in it. Would love to be able to watch those, and we'll help boost your engagement by liking and commenting on it. So please do that and let us know if you have a good experience in that trend report, if there's anything that you want to see better, and we'll improve it for next time. So other than that, I'll open it up to Q&A, or we can hop in the lounge. Al, what do we do?
Yeah, we actually have some time for quick Q&A, Reagan, Sade. Thank you so much for your session. There was so much I learned that I didn't know before, just in terms of like all sides of the organic, paid, and influencer marketing. I think we have time for maybe 2 or 3 questions, but then want to direct people to the lounge. I know people will have like personal advice. One thing that's actually popular in Q&A is examples of nonprofits doing well on TikTok. So that might be something we'll have on the lounge. But number one question that hasn't been asked or answered yet by Gina: what type of content strategy would you recommend for a social media marketer, especially who is creating content remotely?
Um, I'll have an answer for that in the lounge. It's not a quick answer.
Gotcha. Yes, hop into the lounge for that answer. And then I have another question also from Gina. In terms of like, does it make sense? Like, is this a viable option to start as a regular TikTok account, just to use more trending sounds, maybe switch to business once established? What do you feel about that strategy?
Yes, that actually works the best because you can't use trending sounds that easily with a business account. So if you're not doing paid ads, you don't need a business account.
Gotcha. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
One other thing I would say too, so I mean, it depends on your organization, but it makes a lot of sense for your organization to have a TikTok. But even looking at some of the leaders, if they are like the faces of the organization, even getting them to have their own personal accounts as well and growing their personal brand, I think can make a lot of sense. Like if I haven't seen nonprofits that I know of do this, but I have seen some bigger brands, go and do that. So it's an opportunity to have kind of content on both sides.
That actually makes sense. One more question before we bring this over to the lounge. Hannah is asking, is TikTok worth it if your target audience is older? And generally not on TikTok, or maybe what ways can you look at different target audiences on TikTok?
Sorry, can you repeat? You said it was is TikTok worth it if your target audience is older and generally not on TikTok? I mean, I will. So again, if we look at the statistics, again, 80% of the individuals are between the ages of I think I said 16 and 34 or 16 and 36. So there's still 20% of 80 million people. That are outside of that demographic, and I mean, even like it's kind of the same shift that happened with like Facebook and Instagram, where it was like a lot of young people on Facebook, and then all of a sudden, like my grandparents are on Facebook, and then I went over to Instagram and was posting over there and the stuff maybe I didn't want my grandparents to see, and then now they're over there, and again, it kind of all ends up switching over. People that those audiences will grow, but at the same time, like I don't know the situation with your nonprofit where maybe you truly can't tap a next generation audience, because if it's like senior care or something like that, then yeah, sure, it's not going to really make sense to create content for a bunch of 18-year-olds. But if it's more of like, oh, we just want to reach that older target audience because those are the ones who are likely to donate, I think this is where I would say, well, maybe this is a chance for you. You have these other platforms that are already reaching them. Stay on Facebook and Instagram for the older audience, and then try something new here to try to connect with that younger audience. You can take risks as a brand here. I mean, and if you don't believe me, like think about like Bose headphones, or if you're familiar with cars, like Lotus, the Lotus car company. Both of those are luxury brands. Go look at like the YouTube type ads that they're putting out and Instagram ads they're putting out, and then go take a look at their TikTok profile. It's pretty chaotic. It's a completely different brand tone, but it's worked for them. And so, you can take risks that wouldn't really make sense to do on a different platform.